Sorry, guys. All right, it's loading. Oh, well, we're still early.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just have to repeat myself. Did you let them know?
Yes.
Thank you. So our internet's working great, but my head isn't working well.
And a lot of pieces to keep track of.
What else is new with me? I tell you, oh, there's so much. Having a
Thank goodness for Sabrina.
full-time marketing business now. Yes, yes. And when she's not here, it never goes right. So she's not allowed to not be here. Oh my gosh. All right. So we should be live. I'm just looking for us. Yay.
Yeah.
There we are.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Well, here we are again, everyone. And welcome back to Everything Horses and More weekly podcast, educating, liberating, and inspiring horse owners around the world. We have our beautiful, lovely guest speaker, Erica Mason, Osmond Mason, one of my dearest friends, soul sisters, with us again this week. Hello, Erica. And we're going to keep doing monthly podcasts with Erica. They may be recorded, though, due to her work schedule. But we want to finish out the chakra system, at least finish out the chakra system, and then see about diving in deep from there. So today we are, this is our third podcast together, and we are in our second chakra, self-care in the second chakra, how this can help you personally and your horse, doing being aware of your second chakra and engaging it and learning how to develop it, engage, control it, for the lack of a better word, understand it. And not only is it personally good for you, it has so much to do with, it's so interwoven and intricately woven with my work with horses. So we're going to talk about, and I think Sarah, real quick, let me answer a question Sarah had from me when I first logged into the wrong Facebook page. But yes, Sarah, so Mateo, the 5-year-old Frisian, is he was imported from the Netherlands in April to the US. So he belongs to one of our new mastery membership students, and he's here for retraining. So we're going to be filming that. He's lovely, but he's a purebred Frisian, and he already had dressage training, and he knows how to pull a carriage, and he looked miserable. And when he arrived to the US, his owner, they're out in the Ozarks, Missouri, Missouri. And she, of course, this is her dream horse. She's older, her first horse. And she was looking for trainers, that are close by, like we all want. And Sabrina, can you go grab me the pills, the antihistamines?
Where they at?
They're in the middle basket above the sink.
Okay.
I got wicked stung by a red hornets, red wasps this weekend all over. And it's been fun. Anyway, prednisone has helped tremendously, but I'm having a reaction. So anyway, we're going to get some antihistamines. But anyway, so, she quickly fired the one trainer because he was hitting her horse, hitting him. What the heck is wrong with people? So she found me. So this is awesome. All right. So Sabrina will be back, and let's start, Eric. I'm going to let you lead, and I will interject. So that we are in self-care in the second chakra, how this can help you and your horse. And Sabrina will be back to take any questions. Okay.
Well, I'm just going to say something and give it right back to you, Caroline, because this is not the first chakra, but this is the chakra that I was first aware of seeing how you use so beautifully with your horses. You all, have you ever just been amazed, like I have, time and time again, on how horses are magnetically drawn to Caroline, seemingly by magic? Part part of the secret of this. Like, I have shivers just even as I talk about
You're
that.
kind.
Part
You're
of the
kind.
secret is
Oh
in
my
the second
gosh.
chakra. So talk about that, Caroline. I know that's something you talk about in your courses and your
Mm.
clinics a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm.
And so much good timing. Sorry about
Yeah.
that.
No, we're good. Yeah, no, we're good, babe. Everybody's used to me popping candy and drinking water. At least we're not eating lunch. We did that earlier. All of us together, including my mama. So the second chakra is, oh my gosh, I think all of the chakras are challenging, period. All seven of them. And in my work, we only deal with the first four chakras, my work with horses and people, because the first four chakras are related closely to your sensory aware, your sensory processing, your intuitive side. And of course, the intuition really hones in the sixth chakra, your third eye. But for me, in my experience, being a Taoist most of my life, practicing Taoist Buddhist, and all of the reading materials that I've read in the last 30 years, not quite 30 years, but 25 plus years, it's so easy to get stuck in your head and cerebrally be inspired, cerebrally feel like you understand what the teachings are. And believe me, they're pretty complicated. It's kind of like reading the Bible. You have to read it over and over and over again and keep studying. And it does take on new meaning as we all grow and evolve. But where I'm headed with all of this is, in my personal experience, not just with myself, but with people, the path to enlightenment, or the path to consciousness and enlightenment, where you want to feel Zen and live in a state of Zen. And I don't mean that you don't feel hardship or sorrow. That's not the way it works. But to get there, we have to go through the first four chakras, because they're all building blocks. And if one chakra is stuck or trapped, or not engaged, or not fully developed, then it limits the power. Even though they're all separate, the seven chakras, they also help to balance each other out, and they help to engage each other. So like if your first chakra, what we were talking about the other week or the other month, is primarily responsible for your sense of security and safety. If you don't feel safe and secure, it's like the foundation of a building, then nothing else is going to be balanced and strong. And we all have strengths and weaknesses in different chakras. Not all my chakras are all balanced right now. And, that can come and go during our life because of different challenges and different places that we end up. It's just being aware of when you are suffering. Like if I kept getting sick right now, that would be primarily my second chakra, and we'll talk more about that, because it's your second chakra is primarily in control of your emotions. I know that's in control of your sexuality and your sensuality and your creativity. Those are all important aspects of the second chakra. But when we're dealing with relationships, and that's what my work is all about with horses and people, it's the emotional oasis. Carl Jung is one of my favorite psychotherapists, and he was the first psychiatrist or psychotherapist that talked about chakra systems. He was so into water, and water is, the quality of the second chakra. Earth is the quality of the first chakra. And water, I don't know how many of us have had dreams about water, and in all different forms, whether you're diving into a dark abyss of water, and you might be scared before you hit the water in your dream, or you might feel like, and these are all personal experiences for me, or you might feel like the waves are coming up and slowly drowning you, or maybe you feel like you're riding on top of the waves for once. And that's kind of been my journey for years. Before I got back into horses, I understood Carl Jung, and I studied his writings. And I used to, for those of you that know me, I'm a panic attack survivor, and I've been for a long time. anxiety attack survivor since a teenager. But coming out of those panic attacks and anxiety, came all this reading and personal development and trying to be self-actualized so I could stay on top of my anxiety. And I did. And that was how I started reading Carl Jung at such an early age. But anyway, he always referenced water. And I would always dream about water, especially when I was really anxious about something, not to the point that it would be debilitating like it used to be when I was a teenager, but, go to bed feeling anxious. And then my mind would be spinning and I'd be having all sorts of horrible dreams with water. And I never felt good. And so it's been really cool in my later adult life in the last 10 years or more, that maybe just 10 years, that my dreams of water have been where I'm on top of the waves and the water's gently rocking me, or I'm looking out into a huge oasis of water and it's calm and serene versus 20 years of black abyss and water choking me and water drowning me. So I bring the emotional aspect up because it's the number one thing that I see inhibiting people and horses from being able to open up and trust and develop deep relationships. And when Erica, you just mentioned observing me when you were apprenticing under me, when you were, diving into the horsemanship too. And, I've mentioned this before, I didn't know what a chakra was. I just knew what was going on inside of my body, that intuitive. I knew on a very unconscious level what was going on because I could feel it, you guys, in my chakra system, but I didn't know I didn't know the terminology. And so for me, the horses, the presence, I bring a presence to the space that I share. And it's not just with horses, it's a self-actualized, I'm very conscious of how I enter the space of anyone or anything. And it is a presence, for me, the second chakra, the number one word for that is presence, not being present, but the presence. What do you bring to that space energetically? And so, yeah, I'm very conscious of, am I grounded and in my body? And do I bring that energy combined with openness? And that's also the heart chakra too, but the water chakra, and look at where we ride. We sit in our first chakra sits on the horse, and our second chakra, which is the water chakra, is responsible for the pelvic area and fluidity. And it's interesting that about 98% of my students that I have hands-on work with, especially with riding, are so locked up in their pelvis. And then once the pelvis is locked up, the rest of the body is locked up. And I find it so frustrating, for the lack of a better word, when I see so many professional horse trainers and instructors out there trying to teach you the mechanics of releasing your pelvis, all the mechanics of riding to help you become that fluid, effortless, harmonious rider. And it always comes back, in my experience, to trapped emotions. Our body is a container. I mean, this is ancient history in medicine with chakra. Our body is a container. And so whatever's going on inside of our heart, our feelings, or our thoughts, our body's going to reflect. And that's the power of the nonverbal that the horse picks up so easily, because they live in that intuitive state. They live in that high sensory state. And so for me, it's like, wow, if you're having a problem riding your horse, we'll get to the mechanics later, but we got to get to the emotions first. What's really going on? What's the real cause that's contributing to the tension in your body, wherever it is? So sorry, went off on a roll there, as usual. Okay, Erica, you go.
Great. It's great.
And you, I mean, you and I've had this, this conversation.
So many things to talk about here, but one thing that struck me when you're talking is, so there's physical places for these chakras, but there's the first four chakras have to do with the embodied elements: earth, water, fire, and air. And then we get out there after that. And
Mhm.
so another way we can think about first chakra is that our bones resonate with the first chakra. It is our container. It gives us stability. And the second chakra is the fluids. And so if you think about our pelvic bowl, that beautiful pelvic bowl that we all have, it becomes this container for our emotions. And doing pelvic work with people, I often find that people hold a lot of tension in those muscles and have no idea because it's out of sight, out of mind. But I'll talk about some of those symptoms in a bit.
Let me say something real quick.
Yeah,
Hold on.
yeah,
Hold on. Wait,
I'm
Erica,
holding.
you need to talk about this because you deal
Yeah,
with this.
yeah.
She's the expert on diving in deep with this stuff. So your students tell me roughly, because the second chakra is also about sensuality and sexuality. You
Mhm.
know, how many of us are comfortable touching ourselves or being touched? How many of us, you know, make love often? Sorry for you younger folk out there listening to this podcast. I mean, honestly, how many of us desire or have a high sex drive? And,
Mhm.
you know, I'm not talking about getting older and all this other stuff, but this is every time we have these conversations, my students, when we have these one-on-one coaching calls or deep or personal immersions here, this stuff comes up. And now you're
Mhm.
dealing with people who are locked up, predominantly locked up in their, I mean, do you ask them those questions? Do you get a
Oh
little
yeah,
personal and
we
say,
we
hey,
get real personal.
yeah,
Because I actually go into people's pelvic floor and do massage inside their bodies.
yes.
So, which is an amazing thing to see. People have no idea how much pain they're in those areas.
Wow,
So here's some physical
that's
symptoms
cool.
that can be symptoms of second chakra stuff. Um, Bloat in your lower belly all the time. There's a new diagnosis that's getting real popular called SIBO, small intestine bacterial overgrowth, that people are starting to find out about, or leaky gut is another
Oh,
one.
wow.
These are in this area of your body. Do you have to push when you pee? Is there effort when you pee, or do you just let it happen? Because if you're pushing when you're peeing, women, you are working on creating a prolapse. And that's
Oh,
where pelvic.
wow.
So, and that is a sign that you have tight pelvic floor muscles. Same thing with pushing to have a bowel movement. You can do a little push in the beginning, but then you got to just let it happen.
Yeah.
And if you're constantly pushing, those are signs that your pelvic floor muscles are really tight, and you're holding on too tight to your emotions. So those are just some examples, but there's another one, a fun one that I've personally been noticing a lot. So we have our umbilical cord, our belly button in this area. And this is where we were connected to our mom in the uterus. And for people who are mothering types, I find, I'm going to get up for a second, there is something called pelvic thrust that often people have. And so they do this, where ideally our shoulders, our hips, our ankles are all in a line when we stand up.
Yeah.
But if you find, and this can definitely translate to riding, your pelvis
Yeah.
is forward of you. What I'm finding emotionally and energetically is that people are kind of gushing their energy out through their kids, through people they're worried about, through their family. They're giving all this mothering umbilical energy away to others, and then they have no idea how they feel or what their own
Mm.
feelings are, or they're not tuned into their
Wow.
own body. So just take a moment, y'all, to
Yes.
stand up and just close your eyes and find, okay, what is my normal? And then open your eyes and notice, are your hips in front of your shoulders? Are they in front of your ankles? And it may be easier to do this later in front of a mirror.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. But that is excellent. And I actually have noticed that in myself and in other people. And I've had that brought to my attention about, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago. I've mentioned, remember Sally came to one of our workshops in Pennsylvania, Sally, and she worked with Sundance from Ohio.
Sure, I would remember her face, and I'm so bad with names
It's
sometimes.
okay, but yeah, so we've kept in touch, and she's been a student for all these years, and she's, you know, one of the best equine and human masseuse I've ever. I mean, she just does energy work, but she really worked on my posture. And you know, you guys, this stuff is always a work in progress. I have not mastered my chakras, and just when, like I said, one can get really strong, something can happen in my life. And I've noticed recently, you know, I've had a bit of some trauma earlier this year that really set me back. And I went to a masseuse when I was on vacation that specialized in the stuff we're talking about. And I spent 2 hours with her. And also my, because of my pelvis locking up emotionally and closing, Erica, you know, and Sabrina, you know what I'm talking about, because you know, we're so close. But it was affecting my sciatica nerve, and I was having a horrible time. You know, usually my sciatica nerve only gets affected if I'm riding Lovey, you know, learning her movement, and I get tight as we're bareback. I'm trying to balance myself. But oh my gosh, I mean, it was killing me sleeping, standing, sitting. And so she gave me some phenomenal exercises, and she was going deep into my pelvis. And I was like, oh my God, that hurt so bad. You know, and all the tendons that were lined up in my thigh. And I'm like, you know. But anyway, so it's so interesting how, you know, our body is a container, a mirror of what's going on inside of us. And if we don't pay attention, it can really, you know, wreak havoc on us in time, because our body has, like the horse, has to constantly try to overcompensate, or we get sick. You know, disease is a dis-ease with something. Okay, go on, my dear. That was powerful, Erica. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm going to come back to that in a minute, but I want to go back to what we were saying earlier about horses being attracted to you and being able to pull them in with this chakra. So you may have learned, or you will be soon, these techniques from Caroline to bring your horse to you at liberty, to feel a connection while you're riding. But sometimes you might be like, well, this doesn't work. One of the reasons why it might not work for you in that moment is that you have to be at home in that chakra. You have to, all these different things, they're like batteries. There's different batteries. And if you're running at like 10% capacity, there's nothing for the horse to be drawn to.
Yes. Great point. Yes. Yeah. So that's why I can't stand all the mechanics. Mechanics are important. Mechanics, understanding the pieces of an exercise, a technique, are so important. But it's that space that you create, you know, for the actual technique. And so many people can make their horse come to them with treats and bribery and operant conditioning, positive and negative reinforcement. And you see a lot of that out there in gentler, more natural training methods. But for the horse to come without any coercion, you don't have a treat, you don't have a technique, you're definitely developing the relationship and the bond. So that's a big element of their desire to want to be with you and trust you. But the energy piece is so amazing when you know, and those of you that have worked with me, you've seen that. You see it in the videos, but you really see it for real, you know, when you've been able to work with me and I'm just standing there and the horse is like, Foom, or you've done it yourself and you're just talking to them with your heart chakra and pulling that energy down into your, you know, through your chakra system into your second and first chakra, and the horses turn right around, or they stop eating and come to you. I mean, it's crazy cool. So, and you feel that pull.
One of the coolest.
You feel it.
Yes. So just like Caroline was talking about, that root chakra, that's so important. We're talking about that last week, and charging that energy battery is so important. And that's just a foundation of the Tao of Horsemanship work, right? You want your horse to always feel calm and comfortable with you. That's the foundation.
Safe. Safe. And safety, I'm telling you guys, when you're emotionally wrecked, the horse does not feel safe. When we are not congruent, aligned within our minds, our hearts, and our physical actions, our body, that all is mixed messages to horses. And it creates confusion, it creates frustration, it creates a sense of they can't trust you because they don't know what to expect from you, because you're sending them all these different messages that they are instinctively hardwired to pick up on. So you might be smiling and going, come here, come here, come here. But what's going on inside your head is a whirlwind. And what's going on inside of your heart is a whirlwind. And they're going, wow, man, there's way too much overload and stimulation and information. And that's why we always start with the first chakra in my work. And my students, you all have, you can appreciate the power of it. I mean, a lot of my students in the mastery membership stay months just in the first course, and there's 12 courses, because it's so powerful. And, you know, if your horse is really panicky and stressed out and overreactive, I might suggest that you spend 3 months just working on grounding and sharing space and developing that first and second chakra energy before you even get into any technique, because a technique can so often become a trigger to the horse. And we want to start at a base where the horse feels so safe and feels relaxed. And you can really hone in and fine tune the power of those 2 chakras. It is so powerful. Yes. Oh, hold on, Erica. We have a question, hon. Yes.
Kristen wants to know, what about a lazy horse?
A lazy horse. So hi, Kristen. I think you're new and welcome. And then we have a Christine too. I need chakra. So that's an open-ended question for me. I need to know more about what you think a lazy horse is, because so often we our opinions or perspectives of our horses is overshadowed or influenced by a lot of the dogma and the propaganda, as I call it, out there in a lot of our training, the misconceptions. So your lazy horse might be frozen, might be in a self-preservation mode, freezing. They might be completely relaxed. I really don't like the word lazy, and I understand why we have to use it. I don't like the word dominant, because there's very few horses that are truly dominant. They might have dominant personalities, but that doesn't mean that they try to dominate all the time. So it is complicated, but if you could just give me some more information about, yes.
She says, like sleepy eyes and just wants to chill and eat grass.
Well, that horse feels very comfortable and sounds to me, how long have you had this horse? Let me know, like, how long have you had her? How old is the horse? And if you know any history, because there's a lot of factors. See, I'm not seeing it. If I had a video, it would be different, and then I could put my eyes on it. So I just need a little bit more information, because a horse can be relaxed. It sounds like this horse is very relaxed, and they definitely are when they're grazing and they feel safe, or their head wouldn't be low, and they are naturally releasing endorphin in that physical state. But what happens if you ask your horse to come to you, or you move your horse away? What does your horse do that tells you they're lazy? So what you've just explained just sounds like your horse is in a restful, peaceful, safe, state. It doesn't really tell me the horse is lazy. So you have to explain. What did she say?
His actual owner is tough on him.
Okay, well, what makes you think he's lazy? Because all I know is that he's grazing and has a peaceful eye. That doesn't tell me he's lazy. I'm thinking, if you're asking this horse to do something, how does lazy show up?
He just plants his feet and doesn't want to come.
Can you move this horse? Can you move this horse in a lunging circle? Do you ride this horse? Or does this horse always go slow and plant their feet?
He doesn't want to trot, just lope along.
Lope along. Well, so yeah, I mean, you can email me privately, mope along, to talk more about this, but it sounds to me like this horse is shut down. And you gave me enough. The horse is definitely in freeze. self-preservation, freeze mode, kind of checking out, shut down, very withdrawn and inside of themselves. So there, you have to rehabilitate a horse like this because they've already had enough trauma that their chakra system is really a mess right now. But yeah, definitely email me a little bit more. That's the work I do, though. That's the beauty of whether you take the spirituality course as a single course or you take the mastery membership, which it has a spirituality course. It helps you with all of that. It helps you to start a horse, finish a horse, and rehabilitate and recovery for a horse. Awesome. Okay, go ahead, Erica, and thank you, Kristen.
You had another person? Did you want to, Christine?
No,
Okay.
we're good.
Okay.
I was just acknowledging new people.
Okay. Oh, okay, great. So we talked a little bit about second chakra, just to summarize that this area has to do just below our navel, around behind to our sacral bone, which is this triangle bone. It's really this pelvic bowl of our body. Has to do with our sexual organs of creation, our ovaries, our uterus, our testes, the genetic material for making new life. It also includes your hips. So the first chakra like connects us to the ground, and the second one we get to start to move and feel the fluidity of movement. So the things that this energy provides are creativity, the intimacy, the co-creative dance, and emotion. The element is water, and this is where you learn to go with the flow. Being present and in harmony with this now moment, which helps you to choose the next step in the dance. So in order to do this, we have to be grounded and present. That check into our first chakra, not being in the past or the future, which is easier said than done for sure. But in that second chakra, we start to feel sensual and in the zone and connected. It's intoxicating, it's magical, and it's a really special part of that connection with your horse and with other people. So what can go wrong? Here are a few things. One is the second chakra, we have to just be able to sit and be with our own emotions sometimes. Like, for example, this morning I had an hour and I thought, I should take a bike ride and I should do this and I should do that. And my brain was working at about 2 miles an hour. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to just sit on the porch and sip my coffee and just notice what I'm feeling and listen to the birds. And it was amazing how good that felt. And I realized what emotions I was feeling. I have some big changes going on in my world right now. And it just felt so good to give them space to speak to me. And then I started feeling creative. And then I started feeling that spark of energy that I was going to force myself to have earlier. So what can go wrong is that, the gal a moment ago talked about laziness, and that's such a trigger a lot of us have, is just sitting still and being and feeling our emotions. We feel lazy, but it's a powerful gift to give ourselves. And when we're always doing, we are using our fire and we're burning up that water inside. It's like, if you think about that bowl of water, that trough of water, and it's a really hot day, it's just all evaporating. So that's one of the things that can go wrong. Another thing that can go wrong is things can be going great with your horse, and then you get triggered emotionally. Actually, I'm going to back up for a moment. Another thing that can go wrong is like having a professional distance from our emotions all the time. There are times where we have to do that. There are times when you can't just tell everybody how you feel and freak out and lose it. But but we can't do that all the time. We have to sometimes just be present and not be distant.
Oh my gosh, correct.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. You have to say more about that.
No, that's a great point. No, these are great points. Awesome.
Okay.
You go.
So when we have a quote unquote professional distance from our emotions all the time, we're not feeling so embodied. There's a gravity that you feel when you're synced down into your pelvis and into that part of your body. And if you're distanced from your emotions, you're not really there. You're not really fully sitting in that part of you.
You can't feel the weight of it. Yeah, there's a substance And I call it weight bearing. It's part of what you learn when you are taking, classical dressage, and they want you to sit deep in the seat so you connect to the horse, when you're riding. And it's the same weight bearing because often as riders, we're holding ourselves up tight like this without realizing it. And so you elevate your seat, that contact, which is so important when you're studying a Baroque dressage like I teach and I studied. You've got to have that weight bearing. And so when you're embodying what that feels like, the grounding stance, the first chakra, how you learn in my work to stand first and feel the weight of that, feel the weight of your entire body relaxing. You still have poise. You're still standing with poise and not like a sack of potatoes, but you've allowed the energy to come down, and you're doing a body scan, so you can pay attention to how the energy you relax your body, and you allow all of that to go down one leg and into the heel of your foot that connects to Mother Earth. And when you start to really feel the gravity and the weight and the substance of that pull, that energy, as it pulls you down, this is so important to the first and second chakra working together in my work to pull the horse in. That's that amazing draw and connection. And this is also transferred to riding. So then you can make that awareness when you go to sit on the horse, what it should feel like in your body to relax it and to connect deeply when you sit on your horse. It's very powerful too. This work is so powerful for riding and just being able to speak clearly with clarity and congruency with your horse when you want to communicate. Pretty amazing. Sorry, I didn't turn my phone off. Let me go ahead and do that. Okay, go ahead. Thank you, Erica.
So yes. So you can be riding, you can be with your horse. Something that can go wrong is that you get triggered by an emotion, which takes you out of the moment, and that magical moment is gone. Anybody been there? I definitely have. Oh, your horse was with you and they left you. So chances are he or she will not freely come back to connect with you. That look in their eye or at their liberty, come back to be with you until you work through that trigger or stop thinking about where you went and come back into that moment. Another thing that can go wrong is your second chakra energy battery is low. And we'll talk about some ways you can tell if your energy battery is low in a minute, which is usually because of life balance, triggers, limiting belief, having that professional distance from your emotions, or emotional, physical, or energetic wounds at this level of being that you haven't worked with that are taking a lot of energy. So you may be leaking energy. There are people, I've worked with people who have like gushes of energy coming out of their belly. And I gave an example of that umbilical energy cord where you feel like it is your job to nurture the world. And I've seen people who have leaks. There may be energy cords between certain individuals where they're just like always giving energy to certain relationships and they're not getting enough back to replenish it. And that pelvic thrust I talk about, where the pelvis is forward of the shoulders and the heels are a great example of that, which often comes with sacroiliac joint pain and which can trigger the sciatic nerve, which comes through there. So real quick, sacroiliac, there's the sacrum and the ilia, right in these areas.
Yeah.
So that hurts often when your pelvis is forward. There can be residue from bad intimate or sexual experiences that we hold here. And any belief that gets installed there that you don't deserve to command this part of your life and decide who comes in and who doesn't can be part of why this energy battery might be low. Or difficulty relating to yourself as a sensual.
That's a big one.
It is.
It's hard.
I'm an empath and I'm feeling other people's feelings about this right now.
Yeah, so many women in my work and my students suffer from sexual abuse. It's more prevalent than most people think, and it's absolutely astonishing. It's horrible. And so that's a big deal that a lot of a lot of women don't want to keep bringing up or remember, but you have to, you guys, in order to, the whole process of recovery for horses and humans is to me identical because of our emotional, our complexity with emotions, horses and people. And when you're doing rehabilitation work on yourself, on a horse, first of all, to truly recover, you need to go through the rehabilitation process. So, and that's on your road to recovery. And you have to deal with the things that you once were afraid of. Now, I can't and would never bring up the amount of abuse or harm that a horse has endured, but I can create the stimulation. I can create the trigger, and then I can help them work through it. And I'm always there. And so it totally, and that's what you guys learn too in the mastery membership, is how to hold the hand and walk someone through their fear and show them that there is a way out, not the way that their self-preservation has taken over, but there is a way out through trust in you, trust in themselves and their own judgment. Horses lose that too. A way to trust in you, trust in themselves, a way to engage the cognitive side of the horse to become a better thinker, a better learner, a better problem solver. So there's a whole cognition level, not to mention there's the nervous system, how to self-regulate your emotions. I call it emotional agility for horses and humans. So how do you come out of this where you feel like you can navigate the emotions, you don't get attached to them, they don't seize you up, and you don't, but you can also control them too sometimes. So it's important. A lot of people don't talk about this type of recovery, and you can't just keep pushing things aside. When you're going to take the time to sit with, like Erica did this morning, and just take time for herself. But a lot of us don't know how to sit with the uncomfortable. We don't know how to sit with the uncomfortable. And I have been one of those people too. I'm a doer, I'm driven, I'm a pusher. And that's one of the major things I've learned in the last 10 years is how to sit. I don't have to have the answer right now. And that would cause a lot of anxiety. Oh my God, I don't have the answer to whatever. It can be many things. But to sit with the understanding that to have the level of patience, you can train yourself to develop the level of patience, and the level of, it does develop confidence. It will inevitably, where you just like, I don't have faith. You've got to have faith. You've got to have patience. You've got to believe in yourself and a higher power that it will, if you sit with the uncomfortable long enough, the answers will come. And they come in sometimes a very different form than you expect. And it's really amazing. So the second chakra is responsible for helping to create that space, because you are having a relationship with yourself. You're not having a relationship with anyone else. This is your relationship with yourself. And if you're working with a horse in recovery, then it's your relationship with them. And my biggest hang up for people that always want to help and rehabilitate animals is it's like the saying goes, if you don't love yourself, you can't show other people how to love. And a lot of people, for whatever reason, I have found, are rescuers, rescuing animals, but what are they really rescuing? Usually it's a part of themselves that they see in the situation that this, traumatized animal has endured. So they're trying to rescue a piece of themselves. And, I've been in a lot of equine therapy groups. I've met a ton of people in my years of working, especially in this field. And it's really bothered me, because they're not the healthiest people to be creating the space and, helping someone else or a horse work through it when they themselves are so easily triggered and don't even know how to engage what is necessary with the chakra system in order to really truthfully, fully create a healthy recovery. sorry to get so wordy with that, but it's a big deal.
It's deep stuff.
It
It's
is
very
deep stuff.
personal. It's very hard.
I mean,
It's
Erica, you went to
yeah.
school for all of this, you guys. I mean, she's got her master's. I mean, she has been, before I met Erica, she had, what, 10, 15 years, you had your own yoga and Reiki center with your ex-husband. I mean, you've been already practicing energy work. Then you went and got your master's, and you're still driven like I am in studying and developing. So, you know, in my case, it's been 15 plus years, you know, working on my craft, specifically in rehabilitating. You just can't start doing this stuff. You guys really need to take it seriously. That's why I have the Mastery Membership Program created. I mean, that was your apprenticeship program, just more in a written tutorial. Remember your workbooks. Erica has the same workbook. It really hasn't changed that much, except now we have all these hundreds of videos online for the program. But you guys really need to you know, take it seriously and study from someone that specializes in this. Erica, me, both of us, if you really want to do the rehab work and work on yourself. And know when you are depleted, which we all still get depleted, how to, that's one of the things I was gonna just emphasize a little bit here, you know, how to, if you have a block in the sacral, the second chakra, you know, how do I clear that? How do I heal that? How do I know if it's balanced? So I'm just going to read real quick. So what blocks the sacral? And Erica kind of you went into this already. But how do I clear my second chakra? One of the things I profoundly teach in my work, and it's part of the foundation of my work, is meditation. And in the type of meditation that you can do anywhere. So it's not something you just sit and do a yoga pose. You know, this is something that you're going to do. It's called the Taoist reversed breath work. And once you start to embody it and open up some of these blocks, energetic blocks within your body, you can do this sitting down, you can do this walking, you can do this riding. But any kind of breath work where you are aware of your breath and you are purposefully controlling the flow of it. It naturally, if you find the rhythm of the breathing, any kind of rhythm by nature is meditative. That's the science. That's the definition. So anything you find meditative, whether you're listening to it, whether you're feeling it, like the breath work, or riding, or being swung in a swing, rocking a baby, any kind of consistent rhythmic movement, like I feel like I'm riding, I'm walking a horse right now, or even driving, can be meditative. And when it's meditative, that means it's releasing endorphin, the chemical endorphin or dopamine. And those chemicals are responsive for feelings of ease and calm and relaxation. And that's the science behind it. And that's why if you want to help clear, and I know that this is something that's really powerful, and you do this type of breath work, especially, and you're doing it alone and you're quiet with it, it can start to really open up a lot of trapped emotions. And you just have to be prepared and allow yourself to cry. Tears are tears are produced by adrenaline, and 75% of our stored adrenaline needs to be released through tears. That's the science too. And I have found myself throughout the years, many, many, many years, you guys, you know, having moments or periods in my life where I've been going through something where I would break down crying every day. And it could last for weeks, it could last for months. Remember, Erica, when we were living together, you, me, and Chelsea, and you and I were going through a divorce with our first husbands, and I would cry myself to sleep every night. I was so scared. I was so frightened. How am I gonna, you know, it's a long story, but it's, you have to allow yourself to do some of the things that everyone tells you, oh, don't cry, suck it up, keep pushing past all of that. It's not healthy. And while horses don't necessarily cry, they go through all sorts of expressions and bodily poses that tell you, once you learn how to read it, that they are processing and digesting and decompressing and releasing. Horses have many postures and expressions that tell you they are physically, emotionally, somatically releasing. But you have to learn all of that. Again, the program teaches you that. I'm going to read one more thing. How do you know if your sacral, your second chakra, is balanced? So when you're balanced, you're sensitive, you're intuitive, you're idealistic, you accept change, you go with the flow, and you have dreams and healthy desires. So that's pretty deep. I mean, how many of us can use that as a checklist and say, hey, yeah, I'm sensitive, but not overly sensitive? How many of us can say, I'm pretty intuitive, I'm definitely idealistic, positive, I accept change and go with the flow, meaning I don't hang on and attach myself or get totally stressed out and have to control and micromanage everything, especially with our horsemanship. And how many of us dream and have healthy desires? Woo! Do you remember your dreams? All right. And there's so many more, like working with the color orange. Remember when I didn't know this because I didn't know chakras. Remember my old logo, Rider Horsemanship, was orange and black? Yeah, but orange has always been, we had our orange hats and everything. Oh, my orange, remember all the pictures of me riding Snooki with my orange turtleneck and our orange coats? We all three of us, I bought us orange coats that I still have.
Yes.
Orange, and I didn't even realize that. That's so intuitive. It's so cool. Okay, my dear, go on.
Cool.
Anybody have any questions? Oh, hold on, Erica.
Well,
Yeah.
Christine asked earlier,
Yes.
do you have a course about chakra?
Christine asked me or Erica?
Christine.
Just, I have a course on chakras, but also Christine, if you want information, we always provide information when Erica does these podcasts, how you can get in touch with Erica, because she has her own business on the side outside of her professional career where she jumps into this too. So we can provide you with that. And I can, if you email me, Christine, I'd be more than happy to talk more about this too. And then Erica will give your information and your website. Light-filled life, is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Light-filled life is Erica's, and mine's Dow Horsemanship. But yes, I have the Spirituality of Horsemanship course sold separately, and then it's also included in the Mastery membership. It's the first course of the 12 courses in the Mastery membership. So yeah, okay, go on, my dear.
Thank you. And I'm working on a chakra relationship course, but right now I do. Yes, I'll talk to you more about that, Caroline.
I love
But
it.
right now
Oh my
I do
gosh.
over Zoom. I do energy work. I can read your chakras. I can work on them and work with your Akashic records. Talk about what
Yes.
your soul's
Yes.
intentions are, how we can help to create healing, and it can be. And I'll give just a few quick examples, just because it's helpful to make it personal sometimes.
Well, before you give an example,
Yeah.
let me be the first one.
Yeah.
Look, you guys, I've known Erica since 2009, and we both have made some phenomenal transformations. And I'll start crying because you know damn well what an influence you've been on me or for
Likewise.
me. I mean, it's just, it's like as the saying goes, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So Erica came to me to apprentice, and I had no idea how much I was going to learn from her, especially with this energy and chakra work, which yes, came to me intuitively, but I couldn't articulate it. And she knows her shit. All right, guys, she knows her shit. So that's all I have to say.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, I love
It's
you.
been so fun to develop, to learn about this together. And
I know. That's why, like I say, those 2 years we lived together were the scariest and the most freaking amazing, liberating 2 years of my adulthood.
yes.
It's so special. So special.
So yeah, I'm head to toe shivers right now. It's where to go right now. There's so many places.
So read, you're going to read, share with us some
Yeah.
testimonials.
So I just want to talk about just a few people, and then I want to ask Caroline to talk about some horse examples of this, of specific people she can think of, or horses, or horse-human relationships. But one gal, she's in her 30s, she had that pelvic forward thrust I was telling you about, and she had this belief, and I work with people a lot with their beliefs and helping them shift them, that energetically to shift them, that she's not a good person if she says no. So consequently, as a teacher, she was always finding herself planning retirement parties, volunteering for all the crap no one wanted to do. And being like 30, she was exhausted. She had chronic lower belly pain. And after now, her pelvic floor thrust is almost gone, not even really doing much mechanically, but working with those energetic issues.
Yep,
And she's
emotions.
getting so much better at saying no to people. And not losing a night of sleep. It's a big deal. There's another gal, same thing for pelvic forward thrust. She's in her 50s, and she doesn't have a work outside the home, but she could not say no to anybody, and she runs errands all day long for her in-laws, for her parents, for her husband. She was bending over backwards for everyone and had no container for herself. She's just gushing out energy and didn't even realize she could. So we've been working on her finding a room for herself, taking time for herself, and it's been life-changing. And I just wanted to share some of these examples because maybe some of you can relate to this. There's another gal in her 50s who was holding belief that because her mom was so sexy and so beautiful and all of her worth was in that, being of that generation, she decided, we realized she was holding a belief in her second chakra that she wanted her worth to come from her good work rather than her beauty or her physical appearance. But then she'd get frustrated because she was gaining weight and she didn't feel sexy and she wasn't being able to connect to that part of herself. So we've been working on, now that that's becoming clear, we're helping to shift those beliefs. She's now feeling a lot different about her relationship with food, realizing how she can connect and communicate with her husband about her emotional needs, and she's beginning to feel more sensual. And then one more gal who's in her 20s, who has issues with feeling like she's got to pee all the time. She's got, sometimes has to go to the bathroom every 30 minutes, and the norm is every 3 to 4 hours.
Wow.
She was having to push when she peed, which means she has a tight pelvic floor. And just the first session when we worked together, just directing her to breathe into her belly, that second chakra, caused her to have a panic attack. So we worked together to work through that, which is a powerful thing. She's starting to be able to breathe into her belly now. She has an eating disorder, and we're working through some of those beliefs that she's holding in there. But it's really beautiful to begin to see that progress. So, what are some of the things you notice with people who second chakra dynamics with their horses? How does that play out?
Just like what I was talking about earlier, it's so easy when we first start working together, whether it's through a video, because I can see it, I can feel it, or hands-on, one-on-one, it always shows up in. So that's why I like students. Let me back up. I really like them to come and work with me first, because my horses are so healthy right now and balanced and they have a level of a healthy interdependence with me, and each other, and yet they have an autonomy too. And so when students come, you can come with whatever you want or have within you, and they're not going to own it. They're not going to react to it. All horses are one of the biggest empaths as a species. They are so considerate and so understanding. And I do believe the science behind that is just the way that they're hardwired with their intuitive, their sensory aware and processing is just off the chart. It's so strong what they pick up on, like that sixth sense. And so when people come to work with my horses and they're holding the space for them, meaning they're not responding or reacting, often if they'll gravitate to wherever the chakra is vibrating the strongest or the weakest. And often my horses will, how do I want to put it? So innocently go to hug a student, and the student's just petrified because they're not used to horses hugging or trying to give you their heart chakra, or they'll move their first chakra. They'll totally turn around and put their butt ever so carefully up to my student and then turn and look at them. And my student's like, oh my God, are they going to kick me? What are they doing? I'm like, they're giving you their first chakra. You need to get grounded. And so it's just so cool. I know we're talking about the second chakra. It's the biggest thing, the pattern that I see with most people is how stuck they are in the first and second. And the second specifically, but it also parlays into the first, but it's so much about the second chakra, about, you know, some hurt in their life, an emotional hurt in a relationship that really stuns them and traps them. And then it's all that pelvis area. So they're not able, when we're working through the Liberty or the online lunging, you know, the groundwork, it's just so easy for me to see either they're in flow or they have no flow. And then whatever tension is trapped in their body, it's easy to see because their body is moving so tight and mechanical. And I think for the students that have worked with me, you all say this, how magical it is when I put my hands on you, or you put your hands on me, and feel what it feels like when I'm talking to the horse with my body. Like right now, I'm giving a command, talking energetically to my horse, but there's no tension in my body. And so when I put my hands there on you and I puppeteer you, you're so tight. It's like, I'm like, so, you know, your horses are like, what the heck's going on over there? And that's why everybody ends up resorting to getting bigger with the whip, or so many people are taught to use all these tools to, you know, coerce or frighten the horse into doing something. Whereas your body, it should be the best tool because you're going to ride the horse with your body. So yeah, it just to kind of generalize, you know, everybody, I see the biggest pattern is definitely getting stuck in the first and second, and they're so intertwined, especially when it comes to riding a horse. And then it just filters and shows up throughout the rest of the body, that tension. And so when we start to, you know, often, well, my job as a teacher, even in private work, when they come, is I don't, I do push, but I can pick up on all of this. So like, I don't, to respect someone's need, when you're just not ready, like I don't just start saying, oh, what's happened to you in your second chakra? You know, things start to unconsciously, organically work themselves through. And you know this, Erica, through the actual physical exercises that I've designed. You have to engage your chakra energies to do them the way I'm teaching you with the horse. And in time, could be weeks or months, when my students keep practicing, it's organically, things just start to open up, you know, and process and release. So that, you know, so often a lot of people aren't ready, you know, and I'm not a licensed therapist in the sense that we need to talk about this. You know, I'd rather it work itself through, and you've experienced that. So work itself through organically when you're ready, you know, like the saying goes, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, and the teacher can appear in so many different forms. It can be, you know, the release of a blocked energy, and the exercise could be the teacher. So I hope that answered your question.
That's beautiful. There's so many layers to it too. It just keeps deepening and deepening and deepening the work.
Yes, it does. It does. Anybody have any questions? No. Can you guys relate to any of this? Is anybody, I don't know, you know, I understand that my work is still, I think I'm a pioneer in what I teach, and on this level with horsemanship, and it's on the cutting edge. It's still, people are getting more familiar with some of the terminology, but a lot of people are very, you know, unfamiliar with chakras and how, without feeling like we're talking about the intuitive nature, which is, the whole word intuitive means you're sensory aware and sensory processing, but it still has a bit of a, not a voodoo, but kind of like a woo-woo. It's, some people think it's so esoteric. How could this be applicable to everyday life? And it's such a shame, because before medicine was created in the form that we know today, all our medicines were herbs and made from nature. And, the chakra systems are ancient, you guys, and it was a way to help people heal, because back then they understood the root cause of all dis-ease and illness is rooted in your emotions. But due to greed and money and manipulation and marketing and advertising, we now have all these fake pharmaceutical crap that has to be FDA approved. My husband and I talk about this all the time. There's a cure for cancer, you guys. People that have discovered it have been kicked out of the United States. They're not allowed to live here. I mean, I could go on about some of the politics that's going on. So there's a lot of stuff that is done to us to dumb us down and keep us ignorant and self-reliant. And it's all about money. So if you just take the
people
time,
also
yes,
buy into that too, because they want the quick fix. I don't want to
Yes.
do my work, give me the
Thank you.
pill. So it's a
Absolutely.
two-way street.
It all
for
goes
sure.
hand in hand.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other bitch I have. Yeah, it's all quick fixes. You're right. And the things, and tell me, how does that work out for everybody? It's like, gosh, we've gotten so far away from ourselves. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Well, we're getting ready to wrap it up. So how do you want to wrap it up, my dear?
Two things I could talk about. We could pick one. How do you know your second chakra battery is low, and some things you can do to charge up that second chakra battery?
Both of them. You go.
So, okay. So we've touched on both of these things, but just to summarize and add a few things. So how do you know if your second chakra battery is low? Pain or discomfort in any of these areas of your pelvis, your hips, your lower belly, your pelvic floor, your sacroiliac joints, or anywhere in your pelvis, your menstrual cramps, issues with your bladder, uterus, ovaries, testes, prostate, colon, small intestine, issues with sexuality or the sexual organs, urination, or number two, defecation. Gas, also having a lot of bloat and gas in that area. Trouble with, lack of interest in, not feeling worthy of, enjoying sensuality, i.e. enjoying your senses, taste, touch, smell, sight, sound, or sexuality as well. That doesn't have to be indulgence, but enjoying the experience of being in your body and using your senses to experience the world. If you feel like you're not worthy of taking the time for or doing those things, then that is probably a sign your battery's low. Trouble with acknowledging, being in touch with, or feeling your emotions, feeling dried up, uninspired, unconnected, checked out, shut down, or emotionally numb. So those are all signs that things might be running low there. Can you all relate to any of those things? I know this is personal, so you might not want to chat, but just make a mental note. So here's some things that you can do to charge up this second chakra energy battery. Like Caroline was just talking about, tears or water. Tears, that's another connection to this element. Another way that we can release when we're feeling too sensitive and too much emotion, there's a technique called TRE, trauma release exercises, where my body just does it automatically. And then I found later there was a name for it. They're called neurogenic tremors. A lot of times we build up adrenaline in our body. And if you ever kind of like you've seen horses do it, you've seen dogs do it.
Horses do it.
Yeah, they do.
Yep.
And we block
yes,
that
and dogs
out
do
with
it
our
too. It's a
frontal
release.
We do. And
yes,
it's
with our frontal lobe. Yeah.
Right. We block it out and we say, that's
I'm
weird.
right there
I'm
with
not
you.
going to do that. if you let yourself shake like that,
Oh, you can
it
do
is, you can,
exercises like this
yeah,
too.
and it starts taking
Yep.
over.
Oh, yeah.
And it, so that's a way you can get some excess emotion out.
Oh, it feels good.
It really does.
Yeah, it does.
And like Caroline was saying earlier too, that some of this journey is with our horse. We heal together, but sometimes you've got to do some of it separately because it's just gonna overwhelm your horse.
Yes.
So like Caroline said too, rhythmic movement, rhythmic mindful movement, like rocking, slow walking, swinging, breathing into your belly, your pelvic floor, your lower back. I have breath techniques I teach about that too. Being in or around water, just listening to the ocean or a
Oh, yeah.
stream
Or
or
the
a little
rain.
fountain or the
Or a water
rain.
feature, a little
Yes,
water feature. The
right.
trickling of that is
Mhm.
amazing.
It
I've
just
always had them.
brings you right in there.
Yeah.
Dancing. Oh my God, I love salsa dancing. Free form in your living room with, while you're doing your dishes or whatever, or
Yes.
dusting, or in a class, or doing Zumba in a group. Dancing really, really helps bring you into that
Yes, it
that
does.
physical place that we're talking about. Being intimate with your partner, that might be physically, but it could also be emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, just really connecting deeply, or all of the above. Being intimate with yourself, that can be physically, but also just listening. What am I feeling today? Where am I at? Checking in with yourself.
And just giving yourself a minute sometimes, you guys.
Yeah.
You deserve that. If I said this in a previous podcast with you, Erica. I have the pleasure of now working. My office is in one of my barns. So I'm down here all the time. And I can hear my horses. I can hear them blowing. I can hear them, even with the door shut, and the AC on low. You can't really hear the AC, but I can hear when they're running around. But I get up and go out of my office 5 to 10 times a day. I take those breaks. I just get up, stretch, go say hi, kiss. So, sometimes I have to do something, and feed or whatnot, but it's just, what an aha moment for me. It's like, oh my God, I didn't realize that being down here was going to be that good for me. And so that's something that I just want to bring up to everybody, wherever you're working, to just take a lot of little breaks.
Yeah.
Just get up and stretch, clear your mind, go look at something pretty, make yourself a cup of hot tea, hot cocoa, a nice glass of wine if you like that at night. There's and one of the other powerful things is routine. Rituals. I've always been a ritualistic person. I grew up that way. My husband's that way. Rituals are very important. There's nothing wrong with having a routine, you guys. Even with horses, I don't want to hear that BS. My horses are fed the same freaking time every day, and it does not affect their behavior. We can be out working in a clinic all day, and they are seeing and hearing that the feed's getting made and put out, but they are with us. Okay, so I'm sick of that propaganda out there about your horse, don't give your horse a routine. They need routines. Routines build safety. They create safety, they create trust. You got to be flexible, but and also rituals. What do you do ritualistically every day that gives back? If you just start doing little things, it doesn't have to be a big thing. What can you do a little bit each day that makes you feel good, that gives back to you? Yeah.
Exactly. Those rituals create the container that's grounding. And then within that, you can
The
go with the flow
reservoir.
more easily.
Yeah. And you build a reservoir. Yeah. Instead of feeling depleted, you have some abundance in your life.
Beautiful. Yes, yes.
Not
And
just me.
this was next on my list, which really ties into what you're saying, to just connect with life through your senses. Do something that would be stimulating. Doesn't mean you have to overindulge, but sometimes you can too. Taste, just do something that gives your taste buds a treat. It can just be like actually chewing your food.
And tasting it.
And not like doing like I often do at work is like
like
doing
shove
my
it.
paperwork
My
while
mom, mom made me a sandwich yesterday, and I had eaten both. We cut it in half. I ate both sides while she was still finishing it. She's like, You inhaled that. I'm like, thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
Right, we all
I
go through that
know.
at the time.
I didn't even taste it.
And smelling the roses, anything that smells good to you, gosh, the being in the barn, that horse
Yeah.
smell is so
And just
great.
listening to that, I love
Mhm.
hearing that. What about like, we've got a bunch of not butterfly bushes, we've got a couple, but they're called fire bushes in Florida, and they attract the hummingbirds.
Mm.
And we planted a lot more, but we have this one big one by our back porch. But you've got your butterflies, you've got your hummingbirds. People could put, if you have an apartment, you could put a little bird feeder right outside the window, and you just watch the birds. You can do things or grow herbs out. There's so many neat creative things you can do that
Yeah.
gives us pleasure. That gives
Right.
back, that we can take a moment to indulge.
Exactly. Like what
Some
do you
flowers.
love? What stimulates your what is beautiful to you? Is it art? Is it
Yeah.
flowers? Is it having a bird feeder outside your window? Is it going and looking
Mm.
at the sunset?
Yes.
What sounds make you feel good? Carolina was talking about the horsey sounds and how nice that is to all day be hearing it. Sometimes just finding that perfect song that makes you say, "Yeah, that's the song
Oh,
for
yeah.
my day."
That too. Oh, I love it.
Touch. Obviously, just
We used to jam out.
brushing oh yeah, we did. um,
Mhm.
Touching
Mhm.
petting your
That was a
horse.
great release for all of us, is, man, we
Mhm.
blew those tunes. Yeah. Sorry, but yeah, touching your
Oh,
horse and grooming your
yeah.
horse. Yes, I was having a moment. Sorry.
No, 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 I was right
We used to
there.
dance a lot, play a lot of crazy music.
That was awesome. And sometimes you want really
It
soft,
was.
gentle music, just finding where you are and what fits you in that
Mhm.
moment or where you want to be and helping it take you there.
Yeah. Yes.
And sensual, touching the bark of a tree, getting a good hug, snuggling with a soft blanket, taking a bath and feeling the water touch your skin, asking for a foot rub, giving one to
Mhm.
someone else, all those things. So
Oh, yeah.
this is not a
Yeah.
comprehensive list, but this gets you going, we hope, in ways
Yeah.
you can charge up that battery. That's all I got.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Yay! I love it. I
Yay.
love it.
So good
Yep.
talking
So
about
like
this.
I know we're going to continue, but unfortunately it might not be live when we do Erica every month, you guys, because of her work schedule temporarily.
Mhm.
But we'll continue and get on the third chakra next month. It'll be,
After that, maybe we'll
yeah,
have,
maybe we'll be back live with her if they find someone to work.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So, thank you, Erica. I love
Thank
this
you
stuff, you
guys.
guys. Thank you. Thank you. And stay tuned for next week. We have one of my students that's coming here for private immersion, and that's Lydia Primavera. We will be talking about dealing with the stress of setbacks for both equine and human. We touched on this earlier this year with another student, Jen, but we're going to dive in a little bit deeper because we're going to talk about how your horse's setbacks, illness, injury, and Erica, you've been there. Holy cow, with Boo.
Yeah.
How that, you guys can see Boodar. Yeah, and Erica was also my videographer back in Pennsylvania in 2009 through 2011. So a lot of my older YouTube videos and commercials were done by Erica. She was studying professionally videography from her father, who was a professor. Beautiful. And then we talked about this before, you and I have 18 DVDs, and I think you and I created all 15 out of 18. Crazy.
Yeah.
In 2 years. Crazy. But we did Boodar, her young 3-year-old Andalusian thoroughbred, Andalusian quarter horse.
Mhm.
Yeah. He was being started his first ride. So you guys can see Boo when he was more of a kind of like a roan color. He ended up being gray and then white, but sometimes the Andalusian bloodlines, and they start out black or brownish,
He has a dark
speckled.
bay.
Yeah, yeah. What color is he now?
He's white. Yeah.
He's white.
Yeah. I mean, gray especially, but yeah.
Yes, yeah. But you guys can see him when he was 3. But he had a huge setback with you years ago. You know, when you and I closed the facility in Pennsylvania and you went back to Colorado and took him. So you can relate to what we go through emotionally, not just financially, when our horses are hurt or have an illness. So we're going to talk about that next week.
Nice.
And okay, well, thank you. Thank you, love.
Thank you
And I
both
will
so
get to
much.
see you soon. I know I'll get to see you in about 5 or 6 weeks because we're going to be going to Chelsea's wedding together. Not together, but we'll
Excited.
see each other there. Yeah. All right. Awesome.
Thank you all for
Okay.
tuning in today.
All right, girl. Love you. Talk to you
Love you
later.
too.
Bye, babe. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Thank
Sabrina.
you. See you next week.